Reborn. I cancelled the heating bill before the blizzard. My roommate, who said cold showers built character, begged me to come back. The first time I died, my roommate was filming herself in a hotel room paid for with my credit card. I was lying on the kitchen floor of our off-campus apartment with my cheek pressed against the cold linoleum, too cold to lift my head. Frost had formed on the inside of the windows. The pipes inside the wall made one last hollow knock and then went silent. Somewhere beyond the building, wind screamed through the streets of Minneapolis hard enough to shake the glass. My phone was gone. My keys were gone. The back door would not open because Claire had hooked a metal security bar beneath the knob from the hallway side before she left. The front door had swollen in its frame after she cracked the living room window for her video and let snow blow inside. I had spent what felt like hours pushing against it until my hands stopped working before my fingers became too stiff. I had dragged myself to the kitchen and tried the old tablet we kept near the coffee maker. It connected to the building Wi-Fi for less than a minute. That was long enough for me to see Claire's newest upload. She sat in a white hotel robe beneath warm lighting, though she had cropped the frames so carefully that only a blank wall showed behind her. Her cheeks were pink with heat, and a paper cup from a 24-hour cafe rested just outside the edge of the shot. She had layered footage of our apartment over her narration. The thermostat turned down, the dark windows, a bowl of instant oatmeal on our kitchen table, and me in the background wearing 2 sweaters because I had begged her to stop treating a Minnesota winter like a discipline experiment. Staying when comfort tells you to run, she said to the camera. Tonight I'm proving that poverty doesn't make you weak, excuses do. The title under the video read, I survived a blizzard with no heat, college students are too soft. I tried to type a comment, but my thumb would not bend. The battery died while the upload counter kept climbing. By the time our property manager found me 2 days later, Claire had already posted a second video. In that one she cried without smudging her mascara and said I had refused to go to the hotel because I was emotionally attached to victimhood. She claimed she had begged me to leave, claimed I had hidden my anxiety disorder from her, claimed she had gone out to find help. None of it was true. She had taken the hotel reservation I made for both of us, stolen my spare phone, removed my car keys from my coat, and locked me inside because she needed uninterrupted footage of an authentic frozen apartment. She planned to return after the worst of the storm and act surprised that I was upset. She did not plan for the roads to close, did not plan for the building's internet to fail, and did not care enough to call anyone when I stopped replying. In death, I became her most profitable piece of content. My childhood photographs appeared in a documentary about the psychology of learned helplessness. An essay I had written for a scholarship about the winter my father lost his job and my family rationed heat became Claire's voiceover. She spoke my memories as if they were hers. She accepted donations for low-income students, signed a sponsorship with a winter clothing company, and went on a podcast to explain how difficult it had been to love a roommate who couldn't be saved. The last thing I remembered was hearing her voice through the dead tablet speakers. Comfort, she said, is the most dangerous addiction of all. Then I opened my eyes to the same sentence. For one horrible second I thought the tablet had come back to life. Then I smelled burnt coffee. I heard the refrigerator humming, and the radiator beneath the living room window clicked as hot water moved through the pipe. My hands hurt, but they were not blue. They were wrapped around a ceramic mug printed with the North Star State University logo. Across the kitchen, Claire stood in front of a ring light wearing a crop sweatshirt and perfect white socks. Comfort is the most dangerous addiction of all, she repeated to her phone. She smiled, paused, and frowned. No, too preachy. Maybe comfort is the quietest form of self-sabotage. The date glowed on the microwave clock display beneath the time. December 7th. 11 days before the storm. My mug slipped from my hands and shattered. Claire jumped. Sophie, what the hell? I was recording. Coffee spread across the floor between us. I stared at it, at the steam rising from the brown puddle, and began to laugh. It sounded wrong, thin at first, then sharp enough that Claire lowered her phone. Are you okay? I lifted her face, the face that had cried over my coffin while a camera operator adjusted the light, and the laughter stopped. I'm fine, I said. She glanced toward the broken mug. That was from the campus bookstore. You should be more careful with your money. In my first life I had apologized, knelt on the floor, picked up the pieces, and listened while she explained that people who grew up with financial insecurity often developed careless spending habits as a form of rebellion. That observation had been based on a psychology clip she watched at double speed, but she delivered it as if she had written a dissertation. This time I stepped over the coffee and walked to the thermostat. It read 72 degrees. Claire followed me with her camera still recording. "Can you turn that down? I'm starting the Winter Discipline series today." I remembered the series. 11 short videos, 1 long-form documentary, 3 sponsored posts, and 1 dead roommate. "Hello." She brightened because she must have mistaken my silence for cooperation. 62 for now. Then 58 next week. The storm is supposed to hit around the 18th. So the finale will be me studying through a real Minnesota blizzard with no heat at all. No heat at all. Temporarily. She waved her hand. We turn it off for filming, then back on before the pipes are at risk. The point is to show that discomfort builds character. Cold showers. Cheap food. No excuses. People are sick of privileged students complaining. Claire's father owned 2 dental practices in Edina, and her mother renovated kitchens for clients who considered 6 burners an entry-level stove. They paid Claire's car insurance, phone bill, and tuition gap. She called herself self-made because they deposited the money into an account she did not show online. My parents ran a small auto repair shop 40 miles outside Duluth. I worked 16 hours a week at the university library and another 8 during tax season at a neighborhood accounting office. Every utility in the apartment was in my name because Claire's credit score had been temporarily complicated by 3 unpaid cards. I lowered the thermostat to 62. She smiled into the camera. "See? Even Sophie agrees. Everyone should pay for the life they choose." I said, "I don't think I need to." Her smile widened. "That's good. Say it again. But look at me." I went to my room and locked the door. My body began shaking only after I was alone. I checked the date on my laptop. December 7th. I opened the weather forecast. A major winter system was still forming over the Rockies. The headlines used cautious words. Potential. Developing. Possible heavy snow. But I remembered exactly what came next. By December 16th. Every local station would be warning about dangerous wind chills on the 18th. The university would close by nightfall, and the city would ask people to stay off the roads. I opened my banking app. The account balance matched my memory down to the dollar. $846 in checking, $4,200 in savings, and a pending charge for groceries Claire had promised to split. A hotel authorization from the room I had booked earlier that morning after she insisted we needed an emergency backup location for the storm. I canceled the hotel reservation first. The confirmation page asked for a reason. Plans changed. I selected it. Then I downloaded every utility statement from the previous 24 months. Gas, electricity, internet, renter's insurance. My name appeared on all of them. Claire's name appeared nowhere except in the notes I had added to my budgeting spreadsheet. Claire owes half. Will pay Friday. Claire says sponsor payment delayed. Claire says bank account frozen. She owed me $3,786.42 in my first life. But I had never totaled it. Next I opened our property management portal. Our current lease ended December 31st. I had intended to move closer to campus in January. But Claire claimed she could not qualify for a place alone. After 3 weeks of tears, guilt, and promises, I had agreed to renew for another 6 months, or I thought I had. The renewal document showed both signatures. Mine was wrong. Not obviously wrong. Claire was too careful for that. She had copied the looping Y from my tax forms and the long tail of the R from a birthday card, but I signed my middle initial on legal documents. The electronic signature on the lease read Sophie Morris with no middle initial. I clicked the audit trail. Both signatures had been submitted within 6 minutes of each other from the same IP address, our apartment, at 2:14 p.m. on November 19th. At that exact time I had been clocked in at the university library. I took screenshots, downloaded the file, and forwarded everything to a new email address Claire did not know existed. Then I called the property office. Lakeview Residential. This is Nicole. How can I help you? My throat tightened. In my first life I had called no one until I was trapped in freezing. My name is Sophie Morris. I'm a tenant at 4187 Irving Avenue South, Unit 3B. I need to dispute an electronic signature on a lease renewal. Nicole's voice became cautious. Are you saying you didn't sign? Yes. I also need a copy of the access log and instructions for ending my tenancy when the current lease expires. The renewal has already been countersigned. Then I'd like to report fraud before the new term begins. There was a pause. Can you come to the office this afternoon? Bring identification and any evidence that you weren't the person who signed. I can be there at 3:30. When I ended the call, Claire knocked once and opened my door without waiting. I had forgotten she knew how to pop the cheap lock with a library card. She leaned against the frame. Who were you talking to? I closed the laptop. The library. You sounded serious. End of semester scheduling. She studied me. Claire's talent was not intelligence exactly. It was sensitivity to resistance. She could feel the moment someone stopped revolving around her. You won't take extra shifts during the storm, right? I need you here for continuity. People like the contrast between us. What contrast? Undisciplined. You're more normal, comfortable. She laughed. Don't make it weird. You know what I mean. I did. She needed me in the background as proof that her suffering was real and optional. She needed my groceries to make her $5 food challenge survivable. Needed my credit to keep the heat available between takes. Needed my hotel reservation in case the weather became dangerous. Most of all, she needed me close enough to use and quiet enough not to contradict her. I have an exam review, I said. I need to get ready. Okay, but before you go, can you send me the gas bill? I want to show how we're saving by lowering the heat. I'll think about it. Her expression changed by less than an inch. Why wouldn't you? It has my account number. You can blur it. Then the bill won't prove anything. Claire smiled patiently. The series could get me the North Star Impact Grant, $10,000. Once I win, I'll pay you everything I owe. She had said that before every sponsorship, every affiliate payout, every birthday check from her parents. Send me the amount you believe you owe. I said. Her smile vanished. I don't know the exact number. Estimate. Why are you acting like a debt collector? We're roommates. Then the number should be easy. She stared at me, then gave a little shrug for the camera she was no longer holding. Fine. After finals. Put that in writing. You're being ridiculous. She walked away. I locked the door again and pushed my desk chair beneath the knob. At 3:30 I sat across from Mr. Peterson, the property manager, with my student ID, driver's license, library time card, and the renewal audit trail arranged in a neat stack. He was a broad man in his 50s who wore rimless glasses and spoke as if every word might eventually be read by an attorney. We take signature disputes seriously, he said, but the renewal was completed through your tenant portal. The login came from your apartment. I was at work. Did anyone else know your password? My roommate watched me log in once. I changed it afterward, but I reused a variation she could guess. That was careless. I was careful not to overstate. I had learned accounting from professors who repeated the same rule. Facts first. Interpretation second. Mr. Peterson examined the signature comparison. Your middle initial is on the original lease, on your driver's license, on tax documents, and on every agreement you've signed with our company. He looked at the audit trail again. We'll send this to corporate counsel. In the meantime, change your password and enable two-factor authentication. I already did. The current lease remains valid through December 31st. I understand. I want to complete the move-out process properly. He looked up. Does your roommate know you're leaving? I sent notice through the resident portal last month that I did not intend to renew. She told me she would handle her own arrangements. That part was true. Claire had responded with a heart emoji and then forged my signature. Mr. Peterson printed my original notice. His mouth tightened when he saw her response. I'll place a hold on the renewal. If the investigation supports your claim, we'll release you at the end of the current term. Your roommate will need to qualify on her own or vacate. Can I move my belongings out earlier? Yes. But you remain responsible for the unit until the lease ends unless we sign an early surrender agreement. What would that require? He turned to his computer. A move-out inspection. Return of keys. Payment through the agreed date. And a written release. Given the signature issue, we may be willing to end your tenancy on December 18th if your share is paid and the unit is in good condition. Your roommate would need to sign an occupancy acknowledgement. December 18th, the day the storm arrived. My stomach clenched. Could we make it December 15th? He considered. Possibly. I'll pay my portion through the end of the month if necessary. I just want the written release effective before the storm. He studied me over his glasses. Is there a safety concern? I thought of the metal bar under the doorknob. My missing phone. The frost inside the windows. There may be. I said. I don't have evidence of a crime, but my roommate is planning to shut off the heat during a severe weather event for online content. I don't intend to participate. Mr. Peterson stopped typing. She cannot disable building systems or create a risk of frozen pipes. I know. I've told her. Put it in writing. Copy management. I will. When I left the office, snow had begun to fall lightly, nothing dangerous. Just dry white grains swirling beneath the parking lot lights. In my first life, snow had meant the beginning of a countdown I did not understand. This time I understood every second. I did not tell Claire about the meeting when I returned. She was sitting cross-legged on the living room rug with cans of generic soup around her, light props, and a ring light giving each metal lid a clean white reflection. She wore a knitted beanie indoors and had dabbed pink makeup across the tip of her nose to look cold. You're back. Good. Hold this. She pushed a second phone toward me. On its screen comments raced beneath a live preview. You're so inspiring. My dorm is 75 and I still complain. Rich girls could never. Someone had sent a $50 donation with the message buy yourself a real dinner. Claire lifted one of the cans. Tonight I'm eating like millions of students who don't have meal plans or parents paying their bills. One can. One hot plate. 1 hour of studying, no excuses. Behind the camera on the counter sat a paper bag from a Thai restaurant. I could smell coconut curry. In my first life I had moved the bag before viewers noticed it. I had also held the phone, answered questions, and deleted a comment from a classmate who knew Claire's parents. This time I placed the phone on the coffee table with the restaurant bag visible in the corner of the frame. Claire's eyes flashed toward it. She kept smiling for the viewers. Could you move your stuff? That's not mine. The comments changed immediately. Is that takeout? Girl, I see a delivery bag. Nothing wrong with ordering food. But why pretend? Claire laughed. My roommate ordered dinner. The smell is torture. But discipline means keeping your priorities even when temptation is 6 feet away. She glared at me with a silent command. I could have exposed her right then. I could have picked up the receipt and held her name against the camera. Instead I said, don't use my name or image in the stream. Then I walked into my room and shut the door. That small refusal disturbed her more than an accusation would have. 10 minutes later she knocked. Sophie. I kept typing an email to Mr. Peterson. Sophie. Seriously. She opened the door. I finished the sentence. For clarity. I do not consent to any reduction of heat below a safe temperature, interference with the thermostat, opening windows for filming during freezing weather, or use of the apartment in a way that may damage the property. I copied Claire and sent it. Then I opened the door. She had wiped off the fake cold makeup. What was that? What was what? You made me look like a liar. You said the food was mine. Because you left it in frame. It was on the counter. You knew I was filming. I asked not to be included. Her phone chimed. She glanced at the management email notification and frowned. What is this? A written record. She read the email. Lips moving. Safe temperature. Property damage. Are you trying to get me in trouble? I'm clarifying that I don't agree to turn off the heat during a blizzard. I never said I would leave it off long enough to damage anything. Then the email shouldn't concern you. It makes me sound irresponsible. I looked at her for a moment. Are you? The question landed harder than I expected. She folded her arms. You've been weird all day. Did someone say something to you about my channel? The grant? No. Then why are you suddenly keeping score? Because I watched her turn my death into a revenue stream. Because I remembered how cold linoleum felt against a face that no longer had enough blood moving through it. Because the first warning sign of hypothermia was shivering, and the most dangerous moment came when the shivering stopped. I said none of that. I'm doing what you always recommend, taking responsibility for my own life. She narrowed her eyes, searching for sarcasm. Good. Then help me with the hotel. I need the reservation number for the sponsor deck. Why? They need to see hotel safety backup. Wouldn't that undermine the message? Not if no one sees it. It's a backup. It was not whispered, not hidden. She said it with the confidence of someone who had never imagined I might use her words against her. Put the request in a text. I said. Why? So I don't forget what you need. She stared at me, then sent a message while standing in front of me. Need hotel confirmation for sponsor deck. Keep backup private so it doesn't weaken challenge narrative. Send tonight. I forwarded it to my evidence email. The next morning I went to the university's housing office before class. North Star State University guaranteed dorm space only for first-year students, but it kept a small number of temporary rooms for emergencies, visiting scholars, and students between leases. Lily worked the front desk on Tuesdays. We knew each other from the library where she supervised weekend shifts and never let anyone reshelve oversized art books in the wrong spot. She looked up from her monitor. You look like you haven't slept. I need somewhere to stay from December 15th through January 3rd. That's specific. My lease situation changed. Lily's expression sharpened. She had a gift for hearing the sentence beneath the sentence. Are you safe where you are? Today. Yes. I don't want to be there during the storm. The storm that may or may not exist. It will exist. She studied me but did not make me explain certainty I could not justify. We have a furnished studio in Graduate East. It's usually reserved for visiting faculty, but the professor scheduled for December canceled. The rate is $42 a night. 16 nights would cost more than half my savings. In my first life I had spent nearly the same amount on a hotel for Claire. I'll take it. I can submit the request. But emergency placements need documentation. I showed her the disputed renewal, my notice to property management, and the email about turning off the heat. Lily read everything twice. She wants to film with no heat during a blizzard. She thinks discomfort builds character. Frozen pipes build lawsuits. Despite myself I smiled. My name went on the application. I'm going to list this as a housing transition with a documented safety concern. You may need to speak to the dean of students. That's fine. Do you want an escort when you move? Not police, just a witness. I'll help. I shook my head. You don't have to. I know. That answer almost broke me. Claire's help always arrived as a loan with hidden interest. Lily offered because she had decided to, not because she wanted ownership over the result. Thank you, I said. By noon the property company emailed to confirm that the renewal was under formal review. Claire received the same message. She called me 17 times during my cost accounting lecture. When class ended I found her waiting outside the business school with her arms crossed and her phone mounted on a small handheld stabilizer. The red recording light was on. Tell me you didn't accuse me of forging your signature, she said. Students streamed around us toward the skyway. Some slowed when they recognized her. I looked directly at the lens. I reported a signature I did not make. You told me you were renewing. I told you last month I intended to leave at the end of December. You changed your mind. Show me the message where I said that. Her grip tightened on the stabilizer. We talked in person. When? I don't remember the exact date. Then why was my electronic signature submitted from our apartment while I was clocked in at work? A girl walking past stopped completely. Claire lowered the camera by an inch. You're twisting this. I helped you with the form because you were busy. Did I authorize you to sign my name? You said. Handle it. Show me that message. Not everything is a message. Sophie. Normal friends trust each other. Normal friends don't sign each other's leases. She ended the recording. The sweetness disappeared from her face so quickly it was like watching a light switch off. Do you understand what you're doing? She hissed. If they cancel the renewal, I could lose the apartment. You can apply on your own. I won't qualify. Then find another place in December during finals. I gave notice in November. You know my credit is complicated. You told your followers debt was a mindset. Her face flushed. This isn't content. This is real life. Exactly. For a second neither of us moved. Then she said the sentence I had been waiting to hear. You can't just stop being responsible because you're angry. I almost laughed. Responsible for what? For the apartment, the bills, the plan we made. Your plan. You benefit from my platform too. People know who you are. I ask them not to. You live with me. Privacy isn't realistic. I stepped closer, lowering my voice. Do not use my image, my documents, my childhood, or my name in your content again. Something flickered across her face, too quick for guilt, too sharp for surprise, fear. At the time I did not know she had already submitted my childhood essay with her grant application, but I recognized the reaction. What are you talking about? She asked. I'm being clear. You've become paranoid. Then you have nothing to worry about. I walked away before she could turn the camera back on. That evening she posted a 47-second clip titled "When Your Roommate Resents Your Success." She edited out every question I asked about the forged signature. The clip began with me saying do not use my image and ended with her looking wounded. Her caption read, I have protected her privacy for 2 years. Today she threatened me because my grant application is doing well. Please do not attack her. Her people hurt people. By midnight strangers had found my university email. Jealous parasite. You lived off her courage. Imagine sabotaging another woman over $10,000. Your family must be ashamed of you. In my first life I would have responded. I would have written paragraphs explaining the lease, the bills, the hotel, the thermostat, and the years of unpaid debt. Each answer would have fed the algorithm and made me look defensive. This time I created a folder labeled public harassment and saved every message. Then I sent Claire a formal notice. I do not consent to the publication of my image, voice, financial documents, personal history, educational records, or private communications. Remove the video recorded outside the business school and any content containing me by 9 a.m. tomorrow. Preserve the original unedited recording. Do not delete source files. I copied the university's student conduct office. At 8:50 the next morning the video disappeared. Claire texted me. Happy now. I took a screenshot. Then I called the gas company. The representative introduced herself as Marlene and asked how she could help. I'm moving out of an apartment. I need to schedule the end of service in my name. What date? I looked at the temporary housing approval in my inbox. December 15th, Marlene verified my identity, checked the address, and explained the process. Service would not necessarily be physically disconnected that day because the unit remained occupied. The account could transfer to the property owner or a new tenant depending on the building's agreement. My responsibility would end at 11:59 p.m. after the final meter reading. That was important. I was not ordering anyone's heat shut off. I was ending my financial responsibility after leaving. Claire and the landlord would receive notice and could establish new service. Please note that no one may extend or reactivate service in my name without photo identification and a security code. I said. Have you had an unauthorized access problem? Possibly. Marlene helped me set up a verbal password. Then read the confirmation number twice while I wrote it down. We'll mail a service change notice to the property. Would you also like email confirmation? Yes. And could you preserve records of any calls about this account? We retain account contacts. Thank you. After gas I scheduled electricity, internet, and renter's insurance to end or transfer on the same date. Each company sent a confirmation, and each confirmation went into the evidence folder. Then I opened a separate checking account at a different bank and moved my savings. I froze my credit file with the 3 bureaus. I removed Claire as an authorized user from the grocery delivery app, changed every password, and enabled 2-factor authentication with an authenticator she could not access. The changes felt small compared with death, but by the end of the day I could see the structure of my first life clearly. She had not trapped me with one dramatic betrayal. She had built the trap from dozens of tiny permissions. A shared password, a bill in my name, a hotel reservation, a spare key, a story I let her tell because correcting it seemed rude. I began removing them one by one. On December 10th Mr. Peterson called. Corporate counsel reviewed the renewal. We've voided your signature pending further action. Your roommate has been notified that she must submit an individual application by Friday. Did she respond? Not yet. And the early surrender is approved for December 15th. You'll need to attend an inspection at 4 p.m. and return all keys. Your responsibility for rent and unit condition ends once the release is signed. Except for damage attributable to your occupancy. Can my roommate prevent it? No. She cannot obligate you to a future lease. She will sign an acknowledgement that she remains in possession. If she refuses, we'll document service and proceed. Thank you, Ms. Reed. He added, the utility company notified us of the service change. The building has a landlord reversion agreement, so gas service will transfer temporarily to our account if no tenant opens a new account. It will not simply disappear. We will bill the occupant plus an administrative fee. Relief loosened something in my chest. So the apartment would still have heat unless someone tampered with the thermostat, shut off valves, opened windows, or failed to comply with notices. We sent your roommate instructions this morning. In my first life I had believed my death happened because the account was mine and I failed to manage it perfectly. Now I understood the danger had never been a billing technicality, it had been Claire. Please send me a copy of the notice. I said. He did. The email was blunt. You must maintain the unit at a safe temperature. Do not disable heating equipment or open windows during freezing weather. Failure to comply may result in emergency entry, charges, lease termination, and liability for damage. Claire replied 12 minutes later. Stop harassing me. I know how to live in Minnesota. Mr. Peterson forwarded her response to corporate counsel without comment. That evening Claire walked into the kitchen holding the printed gas notice between two fingers. You canceled the heat. I ended service in my name after my move-out date. Same thing. No. The account transfers to management unless you open your own. They're charging a $200 deposit. Then pay it. I don't have $200 lying around. She had spent $340 on a wireless microphone the previous week. Ask your parents. Her jaw tightened. My brand is built on independence. Then be independent. You know I can't have them paying a utility directly. What if it appears in Discovery for the grant? I stared at her. Discovery? She realized she had said too much. Financial review. Whatever. So you want me to pay? Because my support is easier to hide than your parents. I want you to honor your share until the lease ends. My service ends when my tenancy ends. Management will keep the heat on and charge you with fees. Consequences often have fees. She crumpled the notice. This is financial abuse. I looked at the camera propped against the fruit bowl. Its light was off. But I no longer trusted lights. Say that again. I said. On camera. Explain how ending an account after moving out is abuse. She snatched up the camera and left. Later I found the notice torn into strips in the trash. I photographed it where it lay. On December 12 the weather forecasts changed from concern to warning. Meteorologists showed a widening band of snow stretching across the state. Wind chills could fall below 25 degrees below zero. Travel might become impossible. The university announced that final exams scheduled on the 18th would move online. Claire's excitement grew with every alert. This is perfect, she said, pacing the living room while talking to her manager on speakerphone. Not dangerous. Perfect. Visually perfect. We can call it 72 hours below zero. Her manager, a man named Derek who sounded permanently exhausted, said, the sponsor needs proof of safety planning, hotel, emergency contact, transportation, that kind of thing. We have a hotel. I have the confirmation. Not a screenshot. Claire looked toward my closed bedroom door. Sophie has it. I'll send it tonight. And you need a signed release from anyone in the apartment. She's participating. Then get the release. She hates paperwork. I opened my door. Claire immediately lowered the phone volume. Derek needs something. She asked. You told him I'm participating. You're living here. Not after the 15th. Her manager went silent. Who is that? My roommate. Claire said brightly. She's stressed about finals. I stepped closer to the phone. My name is Sophie Morris. I do not consent to participate, appear in footage, sign a release, or have my apartment used after my tenancy ends as evidence of a safe production. Please preserve this call. Claire ended it. For 1 second she looked almost stunned. Then rage replaced surprise. Do you know what you just cost me? A $12,000 campaign. Then your safety documents should be accurate. You didn't have to humiliate me in front of my manager. You lied in front of me. I was simplifying. You said I was participating. You would have been if you hadn't become obsessed with punishing me. I don't need to punish you. She left bitterly. Right. You're just leaving me with rent, fees, and no campaign. Those are your expenses and your campaign. We built this together. Name one payment I received. Exposure has value. Not to the gas company. She raised her hand. Not enough to strike me. Enough to make me see the possibility. I did not flinch. She lowered it slowly. You'll come back. You always panic when things get real. In my first life she had mistaken my compassion for panic and my reliability for dependence. We'll see, I said. Moving day arrived beneath a sky the color of dirty wool. The storm was still 3 days away. But the air had changed. Every television in the student union showed maps covered in blue and purple bands. Grocery stores were running low on bottled water, bread, and sidewalk salt. The university sent 3 emails reminding students to charge devices and avoid unnecessary travel. At 9 that morning Lily pulled up outside the apartment in her brother's rented cargo van. I brought boxes, tape, and 2 people who owe me favors, she announced. The 2 people were library assistants named Kevin and Nora. Neither asked why I was moving in the middle of finals. They simply began carrying books. I had already packed my documents, medication, winter clothes, and anything with sentimental value. What remained fit into 12 boxes, 2 suitcases, and a desk chair. Claire stayed in her room for the first hour. I knew she was filming because every few minutes her door opened just wide enough for a lens to appear. At 11 she came out wearing a gray sweatshirt with the hood pulled over her hair. So this is really happening, she said. I taped a box shut. Looks like it. She ignored Lily and looked at me. You brought strangers into our home without asking. They're helping move my property during the time I scheduled with management. You could have told me. You received the inspection notice. I don't read every automated email. That's becoming a theme. Kevin coughed into his hand to hide a laugh. Claire's eyes moved over the boxes. You're taking the cookware. I bought it. We both use it. You can buy your own. What about the space heater? Mine. Her expression sharpened. You're taking a space heater 3 days before a blizzard. The lease prohibits portable heaters unless management approves them. You told your audience they're wasteful anyway. This isn't funny. I had kept every receipt. I had even printed a property list and invited Claire to identify anything she claimed to own. She circled a blender, 2 wine glasses, and a lamp. I left them. When Lily carried out the last box from my room, Claire stepped into the empty space and stared at the pale rectangles on the wall where my posters had hung. Where are you staying? She asked. Somewhere else. That's not an answer. It's the only one. You're leaving. What if there's an emergency? Call emergency services. What if I need you? I looked at her. It was not are you safe or how will I reach you about the deposit or can we resolve this? It was what if I need you? You won't. I said. You keep telling everyone you don't need comfort, help, or excuses. She moved closer. Sophie, stop using my own words against me. Why? Don't you believe them? Mr. Peterson arrived at 4 with a clipboard and a maintenance employee. He inspected my room, photographed the walls, tested the windows, and confirmed that I had removed my belongings without damage. Then he checked the thermostat. It read 55. This needs to remain at 68, he said. Claire leaned against the counter. We're conserving energy. The lease requires safe heat. City code requires the system to maintain habitable temperature. The forecast is dangerous. It's my body and my choice. The plumbing is not your body. Lily looked down to hide a smile. Mr. Peterson adjusted the thermostat and placed a tamper notice over the cover. Do not lower below 68. Do not open windows for filming. We receive an automated low-temperature alert. Maintenance will enter. Claire snapped. You monitor the apartment. The boiler system reports abnormal temperature drops. It does not record audio or video. That's invasive. It protects the property. He handed her 3 documents: the occupancy acknowledgement, utility transfer instructions, and notice that the voided renewal left her current tenancy ending December 31st unless she qualified independently. Sign here to confirm Ms. Morris surrendered possession today, he said. Claire folded her arms. I don't agree. You don't need to agree that she moved. You need to acknowledge the fact. She abandoned the apartment. She completed an approved early surrender. She left me with all the expenses. Your expenses are governed by your lease and utility use. I'm not signing. Mr. Peterson wrote refused to sign, dated it, and asked the maintenance employee and Lily to witness. Then he handed me my release. The moment I signed, the future changed. My tenancy ended at 4:37 p.m. on December 15th. I returned both keys and the parking tag. Mr. Peterson signed below my name, gave me a copy, and emailed another before I left the building. Claire watched from the doorway as if she expected me to turn around. I did not. Graduate East was a brick apartment building on the opposite side of campus. My temporary studio was small enough that I could stand in the kitchenette and touch the bed, but it was clean, quiet, and warm. The thermostat belonged to the building. The lock clicked solidly behind me. I set a grocery bag on the counter: soup, bread, tea, and expensive chocolate. Lily had slipped it in while I wasn't looking. She texted, "The expensive chocolate you refused to buy for yourself. I'll pay you back." I replied, "No, this is not a loan." I touched the bag and had to look away. "Do you need me to stay?" she asked. "No, I think I need to be alone." She nodded. "Text when you wake up tomorrow. Not because you owe me, because I want to know you're okay." After she left, I sat on the floor beside the bed and listened to the radiator hum for several minutes. I could not make myself move. Warmth had become suspicious. My body remembered dying even if the room did not. Every time the radiator paused, panic climbed my throat. I checked the door twice, then 3 times. I placed my phone, charger, keys, boots, and coat within reach of the bed. At midnight I woke from a dream in which the window was open and snow covered the blanket. The room was 70 degrees. My phone showed 31 missed messages, 26 were from Claire. The first said, "Where is the hotel confirmation?" The 5th, "Derek needs it now." The 11th, "This is not the time to be petty." The 17th, "I know you booked it. Send the code." The 23rd, "You can't cancel safety plans without telling me." The 26th, "Call me before I make this public." There were also 2 emails from Derek, one from the property manager, and a direct message from Kenneth Kim at the Student Media Center. Kenneth's message was cautious. "Claire listed you as a safety contact and co-producer on her North Star Impact grant submission. She also included a release bearing your electronic signature. Could you confirm whether you signed or whether you are participating in the winter project?" I read it twice, then wrote, "I did not sign a release. I am not a co-producer. I withdrew consent for any use of my identity or private materials. Please preserve the submitted document, its metadata, and all accompanying files. I am available to meet tomorrow." The answer came within 5 minutes. "Do not discuss this publicly yet. I am forwarding it to compliance." Claire had forged more than my lease. I opened Derek's email. "Sophie, Claire says the hotel reservation is under your name and that you are withholding the confirmation because of a roommate dispute. For safety, please send the booking or let us know immediately if there is no valid reservation." I replied, "There is no current hotel reservation arranged by me for Claire's production. I am not part of the production. I moved out legally on December 15th. Do not represent me as a safety contact or source of payment." I attached nothing. At 12:42 a.m. Claire called. I answered and started recording after the automated announcement informed both parties. Finally, she said, "Send me the confirmation." "There isn't one." Silence. "What do you mean?" "I cancelled the reservation on December 7th. You told me it was handled." "I said I would think about your request." "You sent me a screenshot." I had sent her an old screenshot after she demanded proof. The image clearly displayed the previous year's date, but she had cropped it for her sponsored deck without reading it. "That reservation expired last year." I said. Her breathing changed. "You did that on purpose." I sent what you asked for. You chose not to verify it. The campaign begins tomorrow. Then make a safe plan. Hotels are sold out. Call your manager. He suspended the campaign because of your email. Good. Good. Do you have any idea what I've invested? Mostly my money. This is sabotage. No, sabotage would be interfering with your property or lying to your partners. I stopped providing unpaid services. You knew I was relying on you. Yes. The honesty stunned her quiet. Then why didn't you warn me? I sent written notice that I was moving, ending utilities, and not participating. Management sent instructions. Your manager asked for current documents. You ignored everyone because you thought I'd come down. That was your mistake. Listen to me, come back tomorrow. We can fix this. I'll put your name on the campaign. I'll give you 20%. No. 30. No. Half. You don't have a campaign anymore. She inhaled sharply. You're enjoying this. I thought about the hotel robe, the warm light, and my body on the kitchen floor. I'm enjoying being alive. I said. Then I ended the call. The next day, December 16th, Claire went public. She posted from our old apartment wearing no makeup and a borrowed sorrowful expression. I never thought I'd make this video. She began. But someone I trusted has tried to put me in danger days before a historic storm. She showed the gas notice carefully folded so the service transfer language did not appear. She showed my empty bedroom. She showed a cropped screenshot of the hotel reservation without the year. She claimed I had cancelled her emergency shelter, terminated the heat, stolen shared winter supplies, and disappeared. I have always believed women should support women, she said, but success reveals who was only beside you because they thought you would stay small. Within an hour the clip had 200,000 views. Within 3 my name trended in a small but vicious corner of campus social media. Students I had never met called me abusive. A local lifestyle account reposted the clip with the caption, "Influencer's roommate cuts heat before blizzard." Someone tagged the university president. My mother called crying. "Sophie, what is happening? People are messaging the shop." I closed my eyes. In my first life I had kept every conflict secret because I thought protecting my parents from stress was a form of love. That secrecy had left Claire free to define me after death, forging my lease renewal and a grant release. I moved out legally. I ended utilities in my name. The property keeps heat active, but she is telling people I shut it off. My mother was silent for a long moment. "Are you safe?" "Yes." "Do you have somewhere warm?" "Yes." "Then don't go back." The firmness in her voice surprised me. "People are calling you heartless," she continued. "But I remember who paid the electric bill last January. I remember who skipped coming home for Christmas because she said her roommate couldn't be alone. You don't owe her your life." My throat burned. "I'm sorry the shop is getting messages. We'll block them. Your father wants to drive down. But the roads may get bad. Tell him not to." "I will. Send me the documents. Not because I doubt you, but because if someone calls again I want facts." I sent her a concise packet. Then I followed Kenneth's instruction and said nothing publicly. Silence was harder than I expected. Every instinct begged me to defend myself. I drafted a statement 6 times and deleted it 6 times. Lily sat beside me in the library staff room while I watched the accusations spread. "They're winning," I said. "They're talking," she corrected. "That's not the same thing. To the internet it is. For a day. Maybe 2. Records last longer." She slid a cup of tea toward me. "Also, Claire made one mistake. She told everyone the apartment has no heat. Management just posted a notice in the tenant portal that service is active and tampering is prohibited." I opened the portal. The message had been sent to every resident in the building after complaints about Claire's video. To clarify misinformation circulating online, heat service remains active at 4187 Irving Avenue South. No tenant has authority to terminate building heat. Management has instructed the remaining occupant to maintain safe temperatures and has documented compliance requirements. Claire deleted comments that quoted the notice. Deleting them only made people screenshot faster. Mr. Peterson called me. We received 37 calls. He said, "One person threatened to report us for allowing a tenant to freeze." "I'm sorry. You didn't make the video." We are issuing a formal lease violation for false statements affecting building operations and for filming in common areas without consent. And more importantly, our low-temperature system alerted at 2:18 this afternoon. The unit dropped to 61 degrees. Did maintenance enter? Yes. A living room window was open approximately 4 inches. The thermostat was covered with a bag of ice. I gripped the phone. Is Claire there? She was. She said she was creating visual effects. We ordered her to restore the room and documented the condition. The temperature is rising. A bag of ice. In my first life I had blamed myself for failing to keep the apartment warm. I had believed the heating account somehow stopped because I did not understand the system. But Claire had manufactured the cold. Please preserve the maintenance photos and sensor logs. I said. Already done. Did you see any kind of door bar near the back entrance? He paused. Why? She owns a portable security bar. In the future, if emergency entry is needed, check both doors. Sophie, did she ever lock you inside? Not in this life. I have reason to believe she might interfere with an exit for filming. I'll notify maintenance and our attorney. An hour later Claire sent me a photograph of the lease violation. Look what you cost. I replied. You opened the window and put ice on the thermostat. The typing bubble appeared and vanished 3 times. Finally she wrote. It was controlled content. I knew what I was doing. I saved the message. On December 17 the first heavy snow began. The university cancelled evening events. Buses moved to reduced service. Wind scraped loose snow across the sidewalks. And white ribbons of snow swirled past the streetlights. Claire spent the day live streaming preparations. She bought generic canned food with donation money and arranged it in our old kitchen. She wore the expensive insulated base layers a sponsor had sent her but placed a torn sweatshirt over them. She told viewers she had chosen to remain in the apartment despite my betrayal because running from hardship would invalidate everything she taught. The landlord reversion gas account remained active. And the apartment remained warm. So at 8:14 p.m. she removed the tamper notice, lowered the thermostat, opened the window, and covered the sensor again. This time she also unplugged the building's local temperature monitor. I knew because she streamed the act from a second phone she thought was pointed away. Viewers clipped it before she ended the broadcast. Mr. Peterson sent a maintenance employee. Claire refused entry, claiming she was changing clothes. By the time they entered with proper notice, the window was closed and the thermostat restored. She went online and called it landlord harassment. Her followers applauded her courage. But the story was changing. A student named Paige who had attended high school with Claire posted a photograph of Claire's parents. Lake House. She isn't poor. Paige wrote. Her dad bought her a Jeep for graduation. Stop donating. Claire called the photo fake. Another former friend posted screenshots of Claire complaining that her parents had reduced her monthly allowance to $1.500. Claire said the account had been hacked. A restaurant employee uploaded the takeout receipt from the soup livestream. Claire said I had used her name. Every lie created the need for a larger lie. By midnight Derek had issued a statement that the brand campaign was suspended pending review. Claire responded by announcing she would continue without sponsors. This was never about money, she told the camera from the apartment floor. It was about truth. A donation banner remained active beneath her face. At 1:03 a.m. she sent me a private message. Come back tomorrow morning and do one video. Say the utility issue was a misunderstanding. I'll pay you $5,000 when the ground clears. I replied. No. She wrote. You don't understand what people will do when they think you tried to kill me. I stared at the sentence until its threat became unmistakable. Then I forwarded it to Kenneth, the conduct office, Mr. Peterson, and campus security. At 1:17 a.m. I received confirmation that the university had opened an interim safety review. For the first time since I woke up, I slept without dreaming of the kitchen floor. The storm reached Minneapolis before dawn on December 18. Snow struck the windows of Graduate East in hard, dry bursts. By 6 the city had declared a snow emergency. By 7 the university closed all buildings except residence halls, the health center, and emergency operations. The wind chill dropped past 20 below zero. I made coffee, charged every device, and placed a flashlight beside the bed. Then I turned off social media. I lasted 19 minutes. When I checked again, Claire was live. She had set 3 cameras around the apartment, one in the kitchen, one facing the living room window, and one pointed at a small desk beneath a blanket fort. A graphic in the corner read, "Hour 1, 0 heat, 0 excuses." She wore a thermal shirt beneath an oversized college sweatshirt. Her breath did not show because the room was still warm, so she exhaled toward a glass panel chilled with freezer packs to create fog for close-up shots. Sophie left me with nothing. She told more than 30,000 viewers. No hotel. No heat account. No backup plan. But sometimes betrayal gives you the chance to discover what you're capable of. Behind her the thermostat read 60. Commenters noticed. She angled the camera away. At 8:30 she covered the thermostat with a plastic container filled with snow from the fire escape. At 9 o'clock the building sensor alerted. At 9:10 Mr. Peterson texted her that maintenance was coming. She did not answer. At 9:20 she moved a bookcase in front of the back door and wedged her portable security bar beneath the knob. My heart stopped there. It was the same metal bar from my first life. She had placed it outside after I went into the bathroom. In this life she used it inside, probably to keep maintenance from entering while she filmed. I called Mr. Peterson immediately. "She's blocking the back door. I saw it on the live stream. We are aware. Maintenance is at the front entrance." On the stream, someone knocked. Claire smiled at the camera and whispered, "Want me to quit?" The knocking became louder. "Ms. Mercer, property management. We have an emergency temperature alert. Open the door." Claire needed the stream. She walked out of frame, restored the thermostat, hid the snow container in the bathtub, moved the bookcase just enough to make the back door appear accessible, and opened the front door with her camera pointed at the maintenance worker. "Why are you entering without permission?" she demanded. "We provided emergency notice. The temperature sensor reported 59 degrees. Your equipment is wrong." He looked at the thermostat. "It was 68 when I left yesterday. Old buildings fluctuate. Did you open the window?" "No." Snow had collected on the interior sill behind her. The worker photographed it. Claire told viewers he was intimidating a young woman alone during a storm. Her audience flooded the property company with complaints again, but this time the maintenance worker wore a body camera provided after the first incident. He documented the white floor, the snow container in the bathtub, the unplugged monitor, and the security bar. At 10:15 management served an emergency compliance order. The thermostat would be locked at a safe setting. If Claire interfered again, the company would seek immediate removal. For an hour she seemed to obey. Then Derek called. She answered on speaker without realizing her live stream microphone still captured audio. "The sponsor's legal team says stop," he told her. "Right now. Turn off the stream. Leave the apartment if necessary. And do not make additional claims about Sophie. The numbers are exploding, so is the liability. People believe me. They believed the apartment had no heat. The landlord says it does. They believed you had a hotel. The hotel says the reservation is old. They believed Sophie participated. She says you forged her release. She's vindictive. Did you sign her name?" Claire lowered her voice. But the microphone cut every word. "She would have signed if she hadn't gotten jealous." "That is not an answer. I handled paperwork for both of us all the time." "Did she authorize the grant release?" "Not in those exact words." Derek swore. "Delete nothing. Do not contact her. Do not touch the thermostat. I'm sending you an email ending our representation until council reviews this." Claire ended the call. The comment feed slowed for one stunned second, then accelerated so fast it blurred. Did she just admit forging it? Not in those exact words. "Girl, turn off the live, this is evidence." Claire finally noticed. Her face changed. She lunged for the phone and ended the broadcast. Within minutes clips appeared everywhere. "Kenneth messaged me. Saved everything from reposts. We have platform preservation requests pending for originals." I put my phone down and forced myself to breathe. This should have been the moment everything ended. It was not. At noon Claire reappeared online with a new story. She claimed the call had been taken out of context. She said the release was a standard roommate agreement Sophie had verbally approved months before. She said Derek was trying to protect a sponsor from controversy. She said management had manipulated the heat sensor. Then she made the choice that destroyed her. She announced she would prove the apartment was truly cold by showing the boiler controls. The boiler room was in the basement and locked. Tenants were prohibited from entering. Claire had learned the door code from a maintenance worker months earlier while filming a hidden costs of renting video. At 12:30 she took a phone, a flashlight, and a small camera downstairs. She streamed the entire walk. Viewers warned her not to enter. Institutions protect comfort because uncomfortable people ask questions. She said. She entered the code and opened the boiler room door. Alarms sounded immediately. Instead of leaving, she walked toward the control panel. I called 911 before she touched anything, so did at least a dozen viewers. There's a tenant live streaming from a locked mechanical room at 4187 Irving Avenue South. I told the dispatcher. She has tampered with heat controls before. The building is occupied. The dispatcher asked my relationship to the property. Former tenant. I moved out legally 3 days ago. I'm watching the public stream on my laptop. Claire aimed her camera at a bank of switches. This one controls circulation, she said, though she had no idea what she was looking at. If I shut it down for 10 minutes, you'll see that the temperature in my apartment doesn't change because the landlord already cut my service. She reached for a red handle. A fire alarm began to shriek. Claire flinched and dropped the flashlight. The stream spun, showed concrete floor, then went black. I heard pounding through the microphone. Fire department, step away from the controls. The broadcast ended. For 23 minutes no one knew what had happened. Then the property company issued a public statement. Emergency personnel had removed an unauthorized tenant from the mechanical room. Heating service remained operational. No building residents were injured. The matter had been referred to police and the property owners' council. Claire was not arrested that afternoon. She was cited, removed from the basement, and ordered back to her unit while the landlord pursued legal remedies. Because roads were nearly impassable, the company could not simply put her outside. But her confidence was gone. At 2:14 she called me from a blocked number. I let it go to voicemail. She said breathlessly, "Call me. They say they're terminating my lease. This is your fault. You knew they were watching me. You set me up." At 3 another voicemail arrived. "The heat is too high now. They locked it at 72 to make me look like a liar. I can't film. Tell them to remove the lock." At 4 she sent an email. "Emergency, need access to your old renter's insurance. The landlord is threatening charges." I replied with one sentence. "My policy ended when my tenancy ended." At 5:30 the power flickered across part of the neighborhood. Graduate East switched to backup generators for hallway lights and heat controls. I checked my phone battery, filled the bathtub with emergency water as instructed, and called my parents. Claire went live again. This time the apartment was genuinely colder because she had opened both living room windows after management locked the thermostat. She positioned the camera so the windows were not visible. Snow blew across the floor. She wore only the crop top from her original series. "They can control the machine," she said through chattering teeth. "But they can't control my choices." Her viewer count was higher than ever. Some watched because they believed her. Many watched because they expected disaster. Comments begged her to close the windows. She called them trolls. At 6:10 she tried to suitcase into the hallway in order to ride share to the hotel. No driver accepted. She tried a second app, then a taxi company, then the university emergency shuttle, which was operating only for medical transport. Finally she called the hotel. I heard one side of the conversation through the stream. "The reservation is under Sophie Morris." "Yes. I have the confirmation." "What do you mean last year?" "No. She booked a new one." "Check again." "I am an authorized guest." She muted the phone and looked into the camera. "They're having system issues," she said. She went back inside, opened her laptop, and tried to book a room online. Every nearby hotel showed unavailable or priced far beyond what her card could cover. She called her mother. The live stream microphone captured that call. "Mom, I need your card for a hotel." A woman's voice answered sharply. "Why? You told us the brand arranged one." "They made a mistake. Your father saw the video." Did you forge your roommate's name? That's not what happened. Did you? Claire is trying to destroy me. That is not an answer. Mom. I need a room. Come home. The roads are closed. Then call emergency services and stay in the heated apartment. The apartment isn't heated. The landlord posted that it is. Claire looked at the open window behind the camera. They're lying. Her mother was quiet. Close the windows. Claire ended the call. For the first time real fear appeared in her face. She had built an audience by insisting that help was weakness. Now every safe option required admitting she had lied. Close the windows and the apartment warmed. Call the landlord and management documented her tampering. Call 911 and emergency responders saw the staging. Ask her parents and they demanded the truth. Ask me and she had to acknowledge that I no longer belonged to her. She chose the only thing she still understood. She kept filming. By 7:30 the temperature near the open window fell below 40 degrees. The rest of the apartment remained warmer. But Claire moved into the coldest area to make her breath visible. She poured water over the inside glass to create dramatic ice. She took off the sponsor's thermal layers because viewers had identified them. Her speech became slower. At first commenters accused her of acting. Then she dropped a mug and stared at the pieces as if she could not remember what they were. I knew that look. I had lived inside it. My hands began to shake. Lily, who had come to check on me before curfew, saw my face. Call, she said. If I call, she'll say I was monitoring her. You are watching a public live stream. Call. I dialed 911. The dispatcher recognized the address. We already have units responding. Multiple callers reported a person in possible medical distress. Do not travel there. The rear door may be blocked with a portable security bar and furniture. The front door may be swollen because she opened windows. There is a fire escape off the living room. Are you inside the building? No. I used to live there. Stay where you are. Claire's phone rang. She looked at the screen and smiled weakly. Sophie, she whispered. I had not called her, it was the dispatcher. She rejected the call. A minute later sirens sounded through her open window. Claire tried to stand. She fell against the desk. The chat exploded. Her camera view changed. She must have touched the screen while falling. The front-facing camera switched to the rear lens for the first time. Viewers saw the entire room. Both windows stood open. A plastic tub of snow sat beneath the thermostat. The expensive thermal clothes lay in a heap inside a ring light. Canned soup labels had been turned toward the camera. Takeout containers filled the trash. And the security bar jammed the back door. Taped to the wall behind her was a production schedule. 8 o'clock landlord conflict clip. 12 o'clock boiler proof. 5 o'clock hotel denial/emotional breakdown. 7:30 physical danger escalation. 9 o'clock Sophie accountability message. It was not a survival challenge, it was a script. Claire crawled toward the phone, realized what viewers could see, and tried to switch the camera back. Her fingers missed. Someone pounded at the front door. Fire department. Claire looked toward the sound but did not answer. The pounding continued. The front door opened several inches, then caught against something. She had moved a cabinet in front of it after maintenance left. A firefighter shouted instructions. Another team reached the fire escape. The live stream showed a gloved hand through the open window. A firefighter climbed inside, closed the nearest window and crossed the room. Ma'am, can you hear me? Claire lifted her head. Don't film. We're not filming. Your phone is. He moved the camera aside and checked her. Another firefighter removed the cabinet from the front door. Paramedics entered. They wrapped Claire in warming blankets and placed an oxygen mask over her face. She began to cry. Call Sophie. She can fix the account. The firefighter looked at the locked thermostat, the open second window, and the tub of snow. The heat is on, he said. The words went out live to 84,000 people. Claire heard them too. Her eyes closed. The stream continued for another 30 seconds before a paramedic turned off the phone. No one spoke in my studio. Lily sat beside me on the floor. I pressed both hands over my mouth. I had imagined revenge in simple images. Claire shivering. Claire begging. Claire learning that cold was not a motivational slogan. Watching it happen did not feel triumphant. It felt like standing beside my own corpse. She survived. Lily said quietly. I know. You called. Other people called too. You still called. I lowered my hands. In my first life. She left me there. I whispered. Lily did not ask what I meant. Maybe she thought I was speaking metaphorically. Maybe she understood that trauma could make one event feel like another life. She only said, you didn't leave her. You sent professionals. That's different from sacrificing yourself. At 9:12 p.m. the fire department confirmed that one adult had been transported with cold exposure and mild frostbite. Her condition was stable. At 9:30 the property company posted photographs taken after emergency entry. The windows open, the blocked doors, the unplugged sensor, and the production schedule were all visible. At 10:05 Claire's channel disappeared. The platform had temporarily suspended it for dangerous activity and deceptive fundraising. At 10:40 the North Star Impact Grant Committee announced an immediate investigation into authenticity, consent, and financial representations in her application. At 11:15 Derek sent a statement to every brand associated with her. At midnight the phrase "the heat is on" became a local catchphrase. People turned it into jokes, reaction videos, and remixes. Clips of Claire saying comfort was weakness played beside the firefighters. Flat statement. The cruelty of the internet shifted direction in less than 6 hours. I did not celebrate. I saved the original links, forwarded them to the investigators, and turned off my phone. Just before sleep a voicemail arrived from the hospital. Claire sounded hoarse. Sophie, please come. They won't let me leave. My parents aren't answering. And the landlord says I can't go back. I know you're angry, but I need clothes. I need my laptop. I need you to tell them it was a misunderstanding. Please. In my first life I had answered every need until there was nothing left of me. This time I deleted nothing. I saved the voicemail to evidence. Then I sent one message. Contact your parents, attorney, property manager, or hospital social worker. Do not contact me again except through counsel. The next morning the storm still buried the city, but Claire's story was already thawing in public. Her parents issued a statement through their attorneys saying they loved their daughter but had not known about the fundraising, grant claims, or use of another student's personal history. The winter clothing company terminated its preliminary agreement. The donation platform froze the account connected to her videos. The university instructed students not to contact either of us while its investigation continued. Then Claire posted from the hospital. Her channel remained suspended, so she used a newly created account with no profile photograph. The video showed only her face and the edge of a hospital blanket. I nearly died last night, she said. The people celebrating should ask themselves what kind of society punishes a young woman for trying to expose unsafe housing. She never mentioned the open windows, the snow packed around the thermostat, or the production schedule. Instead she accused me of orchestrating a campaign to destroy her. She said I had cancelled the hotel without warning, manipulated the landlord, contacted her sponsors, and watched the live stream waiting for the worst possible moment before calling for help. For several hours the new version gained traction. People who disliked influencers but disliked calculated revenge even more began asking why I had sent an outdated hotel screenshot. A local commentator called it psychological entrapment. Another claimed that ending the gas account 3 days before a blizzard was morally equivalent to cutting the line myself. Facts move more slowly than outrage. At 10 o'clock the dean of students called me into a secure video meeting with Kenneth Kim, a university attorney, and a student conduct investigator named Dr. Harris. Dr. Harris was a quiet woman with silver hair and a habit of waiting several seconds after an answer, as if silence were one more interview technique. We are not asking you to defend yourself to social media, she said. We are asking for a complete factual timeline. Include anything that may be unfavorable to you. Surprises damage credibility more than mistakes. I did. I told them about the old hotel screenshot. The university attorney leaned forward. Why did you send it? She asked for proof that I had handled her emergency hotel. I sent an image from an expired reservation that displayed the previous year's date. I did not say it was current. Did you expect her to misunderstand? I could have softened the answer. I did not. I expected her not to check. Because she never checked anything. She believed I would fix it later. I wanted a record showing she would submit safety documentation without verifying it. So it was a test. Yes. Do you understand why some people may view that as deceptive? Yes. The second question was sharper. Would you do it again? I thought about the hospital video and the frozen apartment. I would send a direct written statement that no reservation existed. I said. But by the time I understood how far she would go, I no longer trusted warnings to protect me. I trusted records. Dr. Harris nodded once. Then I gave them everything. The disputed lease audit trail. My library time card. The grant release inquiry. The utility closure confirmations. Mr. Peterson's explanation of landlord reversion. Claire's reply telling management to stop harassing her. The text demanding a hidden hotel backup. The video of her tearing up the notice. Her request that I lie publicly. Her message warning that I did not understand what people would do if they believed I tried to kill her. The recorded call in which she offered me percentages of the campaign. And the expense spreadsheet showing years of unpaid bills. When I finished, Dr. Harris asked, "Why did you tolerate the financial arrangement so long?" The question embarrassed me more than the accusations at first. She paid late. Then partially. Then every missed payment came with a reason that made asking feel cruel. A delayed sponsor. A panic attack. A family fight. A frozen bank card. Eventually I stopped expecting payment but kept pretending I did. Because admitting the truth would mean admitting I had allowed it. Did she threaten you? Not directly until recently. She made consequences social if I pushed. She filmed herself crying if I refused. She called me privileged if I corrected her story. She said I was attacking a struggling woman. Did you provide her your scholarship essay? No. Did she have access to it? My stomach tightened. It was saved on an old laptop we shared briefly when hers broke. Why? Kenneth looked toward the attorney. The attorney said, "We found language in her grant application that appears substantially identical to your essay. We need your original file and submission record." I closed my eyes. Hearing that she had stolen my memories in the future had been one thing. Seeing the theft exist already was another. "I'll send them," I said. The meeting lasted 2 hours. At the end, Dr. Harris explained that the university would hold an emergency administrative review within 5 days. It would address the forged release, misuse of student records, grant representations, dangerous conduct, harassment, and retaliation. The landlord and emergency responders would appear separately. The review was not a criminal court, but its findings could affect enrollment, funding, and referral to law enforcement. "Claire has requested that you be disciplined for endangerment and targeted harassment," she added. "On what evidence?" "The cancelled reservation, the utility account closure, communications with sponsors, and your monitoring of her live stream." I never contacted a sponsor until they contacted me or the university requested preservation. "We know. She is entitled to present her argument. So are you." After the call I sat in the tiny studio while snow pressed against the windows. Lily had gone to work at the emergency housing desk. My parents were safe at home. The radiator ran steadily. I should have felt protected by the evidence. But instead I felt the old terror that came whenever Claire turned private facts into public weapons. The truth had never stopped her before. She did not need to prove I was guilty, she only needed to make guilt emotionally convenient. At noon someone slipped a note beneath my door. "Murderer. Graduate East" was supposed to be confidential. Campus security reviewed hallway cameras and identified a first-year student who had followed a housing worker through the locked entrance. She told officers she only wanted to hold Sophie accountable. Claire had posted enough background clues from my previous messages for followers to identify the building. The university moved me that afternoon to a different temporary room and placed a no-contact directive between Claire and me. At 3 o'clock Claire violated it. She emailed my mother. "Mrs. Morris. Sophie is in serious trouble. She has always struggled with jealousy and control. But this has escalated. I am willing to protect her if she admits what she did. Please convince her before lawyers get involved." My mother forwarded the email to the investigator with the subject line, "Is this what support looks like?" Then she replied to Claire, "Do not contact my family again." My father added nothing, he did not need to. By evening the property company filed for emergency lease termination based on repeated tampering. unauthorized entry to a mechanical room, obstruction of emergency access, and false statements. Because Claire could not return to the unit, the hospital assigned a social worker to arrange safe discharge after the weather improved. She told the social worker she had nowhere to go. Her parents offered to take her home. She refused because doing so would reveal their house and contradict her poverty claims. The social worker documented the refusal. That detail mattered later. The next 2 days became an avalanche of records. Kenneth found the forged release embedded in Claire's grant file. It used an image of my signature copied from a library equipment form. Metadata showed the document had been created on Claire's laptop 21 minutes before submission. The grant application included a personal statement about growing up in a house where the thermostat was kept at 55 because my father lost his job and every gallon of heating oil felt like food taken from my little brother. I did not have a little brother. Claire did not grow up with heating oil. The passage came from my essay. Except I had written about my younger cousin staying with us after my aunt entered treatment. She changed the cousin into a brother because she thought audiences found siblings more sympathetic. The application also contained photographs from my family's old rental house. I recognized the faded green curtains my mother had sewn and the dent in the wall beside the radiator. Claire had copied the images from a private cloud folder linked to the old laptop. The university's digital forensics team found access logs. She had opened the folder 11 times. She had downloaded my scholarship essay, my financial aid award, a scan of my mother's benefits letter, and photographs of our kitchen during the winter my father was unemployed. Then she used those materials to build the character called Claire Mercer. The girl her followers loved did not exist. She was stitched together from my childhood, my bills, my labor, and Claire's face. The financial review went further. The North Star Impact Grant required applicants to disclose other funding and certify that donated money described as charitable assistance would be used for the stated purpose. Claire claimed she had received less than $500 in external support. Her payment processor showed more than $28,000 in donations over 14 months. The expenses included a mirrorless camera, designer luggage, a weekend ski trip, a personal branding consultant, premium restaurant bills, and monthly payments to a company that sold social media engagement. Only $612 had gone to winter supplies for students. Most of those supplies appeared in her videos before she returned them for refunds. The university contacted the donation platform. The platform preserved transaction records and began notifying donors. Claire responded with a 12-page written statement. She argued that creator expenses were necessary to raise awareness. She said my memories had become part of our shared household narrative because she supported me emotionally. She insisted I had verbally authorized both signatures. She said the open windows were required for artistic realism and that the landlord exaggerated the risk to avoid criticism. Most of all, she claimed that I had engineered her breakdown. Sophie knew I relied on her for logistical support. By withdrawing every service at once, misdirecting me about the hotel, and feeding information to hostile institutions, she created a foreseeable crisis. The sentence was almost persuasive. It described the truth while reversing responsibility. I had withdrawn every service at once because every service had been mine. She had relied on me because I had allowed it. The crisis was foreseeable because she refused to make any plan that did not require my continued obedience. Dr. Harris asked whether I wanted to submit a written response. I wrote only 4 pages. I did not call Claire a narcissist, a sociopath, or a monster. I did not speculate about her motives. I listed dates, documents, requests, and answers. At the end I wrote, Ms. Mercer describes my withdrawal of unpaid labor, credit, housing, liability, identity, and emergency planning as an attack because she believed continued access to those things was her right. It was not. I did not turn off the building's heat. I did not open the windows. I did not block the doors. I did not enter the mechanical room. I did not forge documents. I did not tell Ms. Mercer to remain in the apartment. I repeatedly directed her to management, emergency services, her parents, her manager, and the hospital's social worker. Her argument requires the university to accept that I was responsible for saving her from choices she made after I had legally and clearly left. I sent it and waited. On December 22 the roads reopened enough for limited travel. Claire left the hospital with bandages on 2 fingers and a camera crew from an independent documentary channel waiting outside. The university's no-contact directive prohibited her from naming me, but she spoke generally about institutional betrayal and the violence of sudden abandonment. Her parents stood 30 feet away beside an SUV. She refused to get in. Instead she accepted a ride from a follower who had offered a guest room. The follower posted a selfie with her that evening. By morning the follower posted again. Claire had demanded the master bedroom, complained that the house was too cold at 70 degrees, ordered food on the follower's account, and filmed the follower's children without permission. The invitation ended after one night. Claire called 3 former friends. None took her in. She finally went to her parents' home on December 23. A tabloid photographer captured the lakefront property, the heated driveway, and the 3-car garage. Her poverty narrative collapsed completely. That should have made me feel vindicated. But instead I found myself checking the temperature every hour. Trauma did not care that I had won a dispute. At night I dreamed of doors that would not open. During the day the hiss of the radiator sometimes became the wind from my first death. I began seeing a counselor through the university, a woman named Dr. Bennett who never told me to forgive Claire for my own peace. Your brain learned that responsibility is how you survive, she said. Now you are learning that responsibility has boundaries. I called 911 for her. That was responsible. I didn't go. That was also responsible. Part of me wanted her to feel the cold. Thoughts are not actions. What did you do? I warned management. I saved the stream. I called emergency services. Then judge yourself by what you did. The hearing was scheduled for December 27 in the University Administration Building. With remote access for witnesses, Claire requested a public session, believing transparency would help her. The university agreed to a limited live stream because the case involved a student fund, a creator grant, and widespread public claims. Private educational and medical details would be redacted. Claire announced that the hearing would finally expose me. She posted a photograph of herself in a white blazer with the caption, "Truth doesn't need heat to survive." By then people no longer found the line inspiring. They filled the comments with one answer. The heat was on. The administration building had been designed to make conflict look civilized. Glass walls, pale wood, gray carpet that swallowed footsteps, a circular hearing room with microphones built into the desks, and the university seal mounted behind the committee. I arrived 30 minutes early with Lily and the university-appointed student advocate. My parents joined remotely from the office above their repair shop. Mr. Peterson sat across the aisle with the property company's attorney. Kenneth organized digital exhibits at a side table. Claire entered at exactly 9, wearing that white blazer from her photograph. Her left hand was bandaged. She had styled her hair in soft waves and applied makeup that made her lips pale but composed. Her parents came behind her with an attorney, though Claire positioned herself several feet ahead of them for the cameras. When she saw me, her expression trembled, an excellent expression, wounded recognition, restrained fear, and reluctant compassion in a single glance. She had practiced it. I knew because I had watched her practice emotions in the bathroom mirror before sponsorship calls. I looked down at my documents. The committee chair, Dean Patricia Wells, explained the rules. The hearing would consider student conduct and grant eligibility, not determine criminal guilt or civil damages. Each party could make an opening statement, respond to evidence, and question witnesses through the chair. Deliberations would be private. Retaliation or disruption could result in removal. Claire's attorney spoke first. He described her as a young creator whose unconventional project had been misunderstood. He acknowledged errors in judgment but argued that they occurred under pressure created by a sudden housing and financial crisis. He emphasized that I had known about the hotel plan, sent an outdated confirmation, terminated utility accounts, contacted institutional authorities, and watched her deteriorate online. This case is not about whether Ms. Mercer is perfect, he said. It is about whether a private roommate conflict was weaponized into a campaign of destruction. Then Claire spoke. Her voice was quiet. Sophie was my best friend. I trusted her with every part of my life. I never imagined she would use that trust to create a situation where I had to choose between abandoning my work and risking my safety. I made mistakes, but I did not deserve to be humiliated while thousands watched me suffer. She looked at me. I still don't want to destroy her future. I only want the truth. In my first life those words would have worked on me. She had always offered mercy before anyone established that I needed it. Dean Wells turned to me. Ms. Morris. I had prepared an opening statement, but looking at Claire I decided to make it shorter. This hearing exists because Claire keeps describing access to my money, accounts, name, housing, liability, labor, and emergency planning as trust. I said. I ended that access in writing. She responded by forging documents, ignoring safety notices, manufacturing dangerous conditions, and telling the public that I had harmed her. I am not asking the university to punish her for needing help. I am asking it to recognize that refusing to be used is not violence. Dean Wells nodded to Kenneth. The exhibits began. First came the lease. Mr. Peterson explained the original agreement, my November notice, the later renewal, and the digital audit trail. The screen displayed both signatures besides submission times and IP data. Ms. Morris's renewal signature was entered at 2:20 p.m. on November 19, he said. The same session entered Ms. Mercer's signature 6 minutes earlier. Ms. Morris's employment record places her at the university library at the time. Claire's attorney asked whether someone could sign remotely through the same apartment network. Not from the library, Mr. Peterson said. Did Ms. Morris ever authorize Ms. Mercer to sign? Verbal authorization to sign another adult's legal name would need to be documented. Our platform terms prohibit credential sharing. We found no authorization. Dean Wells asked Claire directly. Did you enter Ms. Morris's signature? Claire folded her bandaged hand over the other. Sophie told me to handle the renewal. That is not the question. I believed I had permission. Did you enter the signature? A pause. Yes. But, the chair raised a hand. The answer is recorded. You may explain later. A ripple moved through the live stream comments displayed on a monitor facing away from us. The moderator disabled the public chat. Next came the grant release. Kenneth showed the document bearing my copied signature and its metadata. He showed the original library equipment form from which the signature image had been taken. The two images aligned perfectly when overlaid. Claire's attorney argued that copied signatures were common in collaborative digital work. Kenneth replied, not when the person denies consent and the form certifies independent authorization. Dean Wells asked, Claire, did Sophie know you used the signature? She knew I was applying for the grant. Did she know you used the signature? Not specifically. Did you ask? We were not communicating well at the time. The document was submitted November 23, Kenneth said. Ms. Morris's first dispute with you occurred in December. Claire glanced at her attorney. He wrote something on a legal pad. The first layer of her defense cracked before the hearing reached the storm. Then came the utility records. A gas company representative appeared remotely and explained the account closure. Service in my name ended after my approved surrender. The building's landlord reversion agreement automatically transferred billing responsibility to management. Heat had remained available at all times. Dean Wells asked. Did Ms. Morris request physical disconnection? No. Did your company terminate heat to the unit? No. Was Ms. Mercer notified that she could establish service in her own name? Yes, notices were mailed and emailed. We also received a call from a person who could not authenticate Ms. Morris's account and attempted to extend service in her name. The room went still. The representative continued. The caller later asked about opening a new account but declined after hearing the deposit amount. Dean Wells looked at Claire. Was that you? Claire's attorney objected that the company could not verify the caller. Kenneth displayed the call's originating number. It was Claire's. Claire leaned toward her microphone. I was panicking. Sophie had handled the bills for years. You declined to open your own account. I couldn't afford the deposit. Kenneth displayed a bank transaction from the same afternoon. $347.89 paid to an electronics retailer for a wireless microphone. Claire's face hardened. That was a business expense, purchased earlier. The transaction time was 4 hours after the utility call, Kenneth said. Her attorney objected to the use of private financial information. The committee overruled because Claire had submitted the account in support of her grant application. Mr. Peterson then explained the building's heating requirements. He showed the notices sent to both tenants, the thermostat tamper warnings, and Claire's response. "Stop harassing me. I know how to live in Minnesota." Maintenance photographs appeared on the screen. The open window, the bag of ice, the snow container, the unplugged monitor, the blocked doors. Claire shifted in her chair. Her attorney said, "These images reflect content production techniques, not an intent to create actual danger." Mr. Peterson looked at him. "Opening windows at 20 below zero creates actual danger regardless of intent. Blocking exits creates actual danger. Entering a boiler room and approaching controls creates danger to every tenant in the building." Was the heating system ever disabled? No. Because emergency personnel intervened. The attorney turned slightly toward the committee. Then Ms. Mercer's claim that she survived without heat may have been exaggerated, but the property was not harmed. A drunk driver does not become responsible only after hitting someone, Mr. Peterson said. Dean Wells reminded witnesses to answer without commentary, but the line had already landed. Then the fire department captain appeared. He spoke in a flat professional voice. His team had responded to reports of cold exposure and obstructed access. The apartment was heated. 2 windows were open. Furniture obstructed the front entrance. A security bar and bookcase interfered with the rear. The patient was found near the coldest part of the room, wearing clothing inadequate for conditions while insulated layers lay nearby. Had Ms. Mercer waited for responders to arrive? "I cannot speculate on exact outcomes. Continued cold exposure impaired judgment, and blocked access created a serious risk." Did Ms. Morris interfere with the response? No. A caller identifying herself as a former tenant provided useful information about entry obstructions. Dispatch records show Ms. Morris called before the patient's condition became severe on camera. Claire looked up sharply. Her public statement had claimed I waited for the worst possible moment. Kenneth displayed the timestamps. My call began at 7:42 p.m. The mug fell at 7:49. The first visible collapse occurred at 7:56. Firefighters entered at 8:07. I had called before she begged me. Before she fell. Before the rear camera exposed the staging. Her attorney tried a different approach. "Captain, was Ms. Morris physically present?" No. Would an earlier personal intervention by someone with a key have reduced the risk? Ms. Morris had surrendered her keys. Civilians were instructed not to travel. Attempting to reach the building during the blizzard would have created another emergency. But a person familiar with Ms. Mercer might have persuaded her to stop. The captain's expression did not change. Emergency response does not require a former roommate to place herself at risk because an adult refuses instructions. For the first time that morning I felt my shoulders lower. The hearing broke for 15 minutes. In the hallway Claire approached before her attorney could stop her. The no-contact directive was still active. "You look pleased," she said. I did not answer. "You knew they'd say all of that." Lily stepped between us. "Do not contact her." Claire ignored her. "Sophie, tell them the release was a misunderstanding. Tell them I paid you an exposure and shared expenses. We can settle the money privately." I looked at the bandages on her fingers. "You are asking me to lie during a hearing about your forged documents. I'm asking you not to ruin my life over paperwork. The paperwork is how you tried to take mine." Her face twisted. "Always, that's why people liked me more." The student conduct officer arrived and escorted her back into the room. When the hearing resumed, Kenneth presented the grant application. My childhood filled the screen. The old green curtains. The dent beside the radiator. The kitchen table my father had repaired twice. A paragraph from my scholarship essay appeared beside Claire's personal statement. The words were nearly identical. Mine. When my father lost his job. The thermostat became a family argument written in degrees. 60 meant we could afford groceries. 58 meant the repair shop had no customers that week. I learned to sleep in socks and finish homework before sunset because the lamp near the kitchen table used the least electricity. Claire's. When my father lost his job. Our thermostat became a family argument written in degrees. 60 meant groceries. 58 meant no customers had come that week. I learned to sleep in socks and finish homework before sunset because the kitchen lamp used the least electricity. Dean Wells turned to Claire. Did your father lose his job during your childhood? Claire's father sat behind her. He answered before she could. No. Her attorney asked him not to speak unless called. Dean Wells called him. Mr. Mercer moved to the witness table with the expression of a man entering a room he had spent years paying to avoid. Did your family experience utility shutoffs or food insecurity? No. Did you provide your daughter financial support during college? Yes. Tuition not covered by aid. Her phone, vehicle expenses, insurance, and a monthly allowance. How much? He looked at Claire. $2,000 a month initially, then $1,500 after she exceeded the budget repeatedly. A sound escaped from the public gallery. Claire leaned toward her microphone. My parents. Money was controlling. I was trying to become independent. Her father looked at her for a long moment. You told us you used the allowance for rent and food. Sophie paid most of those. You don't know our arrangement. I saw the records this week. Her mother began crying silently behind him. Dean Wells returned to the essay. How did Ms. Mercer obtain these materials? The digital forensics analyst explained the cloud logs. Claire's laptop had accessed my private folder repeatedly. Files were downloaded and later imported into her grant package. Claire said. We shared the laptop. I said. For 9 days. 10 months earlier. I locked it when hers was repaired. The analyst confirmed that my credentials had been recovered from the browser's stored password database. Did Ms. Morris authorize use of the files? Dean Wells asked. We found no evidence of authorization. Claire finally lost control. She told those stories all the time. They were part of the apartment, part of our friendship. I helped her process them. I turned them into something useful instead of letting her be ashamed. I stared at her. You sold them. I gave them meaning. They already had meaning. They were mine. Dean Wells called for order. But Claire kept speaking. You hated that people listened when I told them. You hated that I could take pain and make it powerful. You changed my cousin into your brother because it performed better. That's storytelling. The words hung in the room. Kenneth did not need to explain them. Next came the donations. A platform compliance officer summarized the account. $28.416 had been collected through campaigns labeled Emergency Student Support, Winter Survival Assistance, and Mutual Aid Fund for Heating Supplies. The spending records appeared category by category. Camera equipment, hotels, restaurants, ski passes, a branding consultant, paid engagement, returned merchandise. Claire's attorney argued that fundraising revenue belonged to a creator business and could support production expenses. The compliance officer replied, not when campaigns state that funds will purchase coats, food, and emergency heating assistance for named beneficiaries. Donors were not told they were buying ski passes or followers. Were any students helped? We verified 19 sets of gloves distributed at a filming event, retail value approximately $170. The remaining items visible in the video were returned within 48 hours. Kenneth played a clip of Claire handing winter coats to students while saying, every dollar you gave is on someone's back tonight. Then she showed refund receipts dated the following morning. Claire covered her mouth. For once the gesture was not performed. The final exhibit was the live stream archive, not reposted clips, not edited compilations. The platform had preserved the original streams with server timestamps. We watched Claire tell viewers that I was supposed to keep paying until the campaign ended. We watched her say she thought I would come back when she scared me. We watched her admit that I had not specifically authorized the release. We watched her open the windows, cover the thermostat, enter the mechanical room. We watched the rear camera reveal the production schedule. Then Kenneth paused on the line. Scheduled for 9 p.m., Sophie accountability message. Dean Wells asked, what was intended at 9 p.m.? Claire stared at the table. A closing statement about Sophie, about abandonment before the challenge began. You scheduled the message blaming Ms. Morris for the danger you intended to create, is that correct? No. The schedule was prepared in advance. Content calendars include possible outcomes. You scheduled the hotel denial segment before calling the hotel. I anticipated problems. You scheduled physical danger escalation. That was dramatic language. You scheduled. Sophie, accountability. Claire looked at me. Her eyes filled with tears. Because I knew she would leave me. The room was silent, not the dramatic silence of her videos, but real silence, uncomfortable and unimpressed. Dean Wells folded her hands. Ms. Mercer. Ms. Morris had already moved out. She had informed you in writing. She had no active lease, no keys, no utility account, and no role in your production. What did you believe she remained responsible for? Claire answered softly. Me. That one word was the truest thing she said all day. She heard it after it left her mouth, and so did everyone else. Her attorney requested a private conference. The committee denied it until questioning ended. Claire tried to repair the answer. I mean, responsible as a friend, we had supported each other. She knew I was under pressure. Dean Wells asked. What support did you provide, Ms. Morris? Emotional support. Visibility. Connections. Did you pay your share of rent and utilities? Not consistently. Did you owe her money? We disputed the amount. I submitted the spreadsheet, bank transfers, and texts acknowledging specific debts. Claire claimed the payments were in our shared platform. I submitted messages in which she called them loans and promised repayment after campaigns. She claimed I had benefited from her audience. I submitted removal demands showing I did not consent to appear. She claimed I had abandoned her during an emergency. The dispatcher record showed I called before her visible collapse. She claimed she had nowhere safe to go. The hospital's social worker's notes showed she refused her parents' home. She claimed she could not afford a utility deposit. Purchases showed she chose equipment instead. Every excuse closed because she had sealed it herself. At the end, Dean Wells allowed final statements. Claire stood. She no longer looked polished. Her mascara had collected beneath her eyes, and her voice shook with real exhaustion. I know people think this is simple, she said. Rich liar steals girl's story. Bad influencer risks lives. But I built something that helped people. Thousands of students told me I motivated them. I made them feel less helpless. Yes. I simplified things. Yes. I used details from Sophie because we lived together and I believed our experiences had become shared. But none of that changes that she knew exactly how dependent I was on her. She withdrew everything at the moment it would hurt most. She wanted me to fail. She turned toward me. You could have warned me one more time. You could have booked one room. You could have left the account open for 1 week. You could have answered when I called. You could have come back. Each sentence sounded familiar. They were the same arguments my mind had used against me in my first life. You could have done more. You could have prevented it. You could have kept her warm. I stood when Dean Wells called my name. Claire is right about one thing, I said. I wanted her plan to fail. I wanted the grant committee to see false documents. I wanted her manager to discover there was no verified hotel. I wanted the landlord to know she was manufacturing cold. I wanted donors to know where their money went. Claire's attorney watched me carefully. But I did not want her injured. That is why I warned management before the storm. Why I reported the blocked door. Why I called 911. The difference between us is not that I am kind and she is cruel. The difference is that I accept responsibility for what I choose. I looked directly at Claire. I chose to leave. I chose to stop paying. I chose to preserve evidence instead of arguing online. I chose not to drive into a blizzard when professionals were already responding. She chose to ignore notices. She chose not to open her own account. She chose to lie about the hotel. She chose to open the windows. She chose to block the doors. She chose to enter that boiler room. She chose to keep filming after emergency services called. My hands were steady. She did not become endangered because I withdrew support. She became visible because I stopped hiding the consequences. Claire shook her head. You ruined my life. No. I said. I returned it to the person making the decisions. Dean Wells ended the public session. The committee deliberated for 3 hours. We waited in separate rooms. At first I paced. Then I stopped. The outcome mattered. But it no longer controlled the truth. The lease was void. The utility records existed. The firefighters had entered. My essay had been recovered. Donors had seen the spending. Even if the university failed me, Claire could never put everything back inside the story she preferred. At 6:20 p.m. we returned. Dean Wells read the findings slowly. The committee found that Claire had forged my signature on the grant release and, by her own admission, entered my signature on the lease renewal without documented authority. It found that she had accessed and used my private educational and financial materials without consent. It found that her grant application contained substantial misrepresentations about financial need, personal history, external support, and project safety. It found that she retaliated against me through targeted public content after I withdrew participation. It found that she repeatedly violated housing safety directives and endangered residents, staff, emergency responders, and herself. It found that her fundraising statements were materially inconsistent with the documented use of funds. The sanctions followed: immediate revocation of grant eligibility, suspension from the university for a minimum of 2 academic years, with readmission conditioned on restitution, completion of ethics and safety requirements, and resolution of related legal matters, a permanent ban from university-sponsored media funding, revocation of access to student media facilities, referral of signature and data access findings to law enforcement, referral of fundraising records to the relevant platform and state consumer protection authorities. A continuing no-contact directive protected me, my family, my friends, Lawrence, and university witnesses. The committee also found that my old hotel screenshot had been misleading in context. It issued me a written caution for deliberately providing information I expected another student to misuse. I accepted it. The caution did not make us equal. Accountability was not a pie divided into heroes and villains. I had made a choice I would not repeat, and I could acknowledge it without surrendering the rest. Claire could not. "This is insane," she said. 2 years over videos. Dean Wells replied, "The findings are not over videos. They concern forgery, misrepresentation, unauthorized data access, retaliation, and dangerous conduct." Claire turned to her parents. "Say something." Her mother looked at the floor. Her father said, "We will discuss the appeal with counsel." "I don't want to appeal, I want them to fix it." No one moved. She looked at me last. I expected hatred. What I saw was disbelief. Not disbelief that she had lost, but disbelief that I was not going to step forward and negotiate the loss into something smaller. For years every consequence in her life had encountered me before it reached her. That evening, for the first time, there was no one standing in the way. The sanctions were only the beginning. Within 48 hours the donation platform began refunding contributors from the frozen balance. Because most of the money had already been spent, it opened a recovery claim against Claire. The winter clothing company demanded repayment of its advance and the return of equipment. The property company billed her for emergency entry, sensor replacement, water damage near the windows, mechanical room security upgrades, and legal fees permitted under the lease. The police investigation moved more slowly. Forged signatures were not transformed into handcuffs for the satisfaction of an audience. Detectives collected devices, interviewed witnesses, and compared records. The State Consumer Protection Office requested fundraising materials. Lawyers wrote letters. Deadlines replaced live streams. Claire hated systems she could not perform her way through. She filed an appeal with the university, then withdrew it when the appeal board requested sworn statements and complete financial disclosure. She posted a long essay claiming she had been institutionally silenced, then deleted it after her attorney reminded her of the no-contact and non-retaliation orders. She tried to launch a subscription newsletter under a new name. Former donors identified her within hours. Her parents paid for counsel but refused to pay the donation debt or property charges. "We will pay for a defense," her father said in a statement later submitted during mediation. "We will not purchase the absence of consequences." For the first time Claire had to inventory the actual cost of her life. She sold the camera, then the designer luggage, then the wireless microphone she had bought instead of opening a gas account. That detail spread online and became another joke. But by then I had stopped following the jokes. I blocked her name from my feeds. I asked friends not to send updates unless they affected my safety or legal rights. When reporters emailed, I gave them the university statement and declined interviews. The absence of my voice disappointed them. They wanted a feud. They wanted me to describe the moment I watched Claire shiver. They wanted a perfect victim who had never felt anger or a perfect avenger who felt nothing else. I was neither. I had wanted her lies exposed. I had wanted her to feel for one night the cold she sold to other people as character. Then I had watched her judgment fail on camera and realized revenge was easier to imagine than to survive. Dr. Bennett helped me separate guilt from responsibility. "Do you regret leaving?" she asked during our first session after the hearing. "No." "Do you regret ending the accounts?" "No." "Do you regret calling management? Calling 911? "No." "Then what do you regret?" I considered. "I regret needing proof so badly that I sent the old hotel screenshot. I knew she would misuse it. Part of me wanted to watch her discover that I wasn't behind her anymore." "You accepted the university's caution." "Yes." "What will you do differently?" "Say no directly. Leave earlier. Trust that another person's refusal to listen doesn't require me to build a trap around the warning." Dr. Bennett nodded. "That sounds like accountability, not self-flagellation." The distinction became the foundation of my second life. In January, the accounting office where I worked offered me additional hours reviewing expense documentation for nonprofit clients. My supervisor, Ms. Feld, had seen the hearing only because Claire's fundraising records involved local organizations. "You notice patterns," she told me. "Not just missing receipts, the story people are trying to make the numbers tell." I accepted the work. I also returned to classes. At first, entering the business school made my chest tighten because I remembered Claire waiting outside with her camera. Students recognized me. Some stared. A few apologized for messages they had sent. Most pretended nothing had happened. One girl caught me after cost accounting. I shared Claire's first video. "I didn't threaten you or anything." But I believed her. "I'm sorry." "Thank you," I said. She seemed to expect absolution large enough to relieve her immediately. I did not offer it. An apology could be accepted without becoming friendship. The university removed the forged release and fraudulent grant application from my educational record. Its privacy office helped me submit takedown requests for my childhood photographs and scholarship essay. Copies remained on the internet. Of course. Nothing disappeared completely. But platforms removed the most visible uploads. And search results gradually shifted toward the official findings. My parents changed the repair shop's voicemail greeting after weeks of harassment. By February, the calls stopped. My father visited campus on a Saturday and installed an extra portable door alarm in my new apartment, even though the building already had secure locks. "This one is for me," he said. When I told him it was unnecessary, my mother filled my freezer with soup and labeled each container with instructions, dates, and an excessive number of exclamation marks. We did not discuss how close they had come in another life to burying me. I simply let them care for me without turning care into debt. The civil side of the case resolved in stages. The property company returned my deposit after deducting nothing from my portion. Claire disputed the damage charges, but sensor logs, body camera footage, and her own live stream made the dispute brief. The donation platform pursued restitution. The Consumer Protection Office negotiated an agreement requiring her to repay misused funds, avoid charitable fundraising for several years, and issue a correction. The correction had to state that she had used another student's personal history and had misrepresented the purpose of donations. She fought the wording for weeks. Eventually, the document appeared on a plain government web page without music, filters, or comments. It was the first story she had ever published that she could not edit for emotion. The signature cases ended with a plea agreement after Claire's attorney advised her that the digital records were overwhelming. She avoided jail but received probation, community service unrelated to media production, financial restitution, and a prohibition on using my name or materials. Some people online called the outcome too light. Others called it too harsh. I called it no longer mine to manage. In March, Claire requested mediation over the money she owed me personally. My spreadsheet had grown from $3,786.42 to include a few documented purchases she had charged without permission, but my attorney advised keeping the claim narrow. We demanded the original amount plus filing costs. The mediation took place by video. Claire appeared from a small room in her parents' house. The white shelves behind her were almost empty. She wore no visible makeup and kept her hands folded for the first hour. Her attorney spoke. Then the mediator separated us into virtual rooms. When we returned, Claire asked to address me directly. My attorney objected, but I agreed to 2 minutes. "You got everything," she said. "My school, my channel, my friends, my money. What else do you want? The amount you agree to repay. You know I don't have it. Then accept a payment plan. 5 years. 10. Is that what makes you feel powerful? No. It makes the debt yours." She looked away. I almost lost fingers. "Because you opened the windows. You knew I would. I knew you might, that's why I notified management. You could have come back." It was again the same door she kept trying to make me walk through. "No," I said. "You could have kept the account open. No. You could have booked the hotel. No. You could have warned me more clearly." "I did." Her face tightened. "We were like sisters." "No. Sisters don't turn someone else's suffering into content." She blinked. For a moment I saw the girl I had met sophomore year, the funny, ambitious student who borrowed my stapler and returned it with a thank you coffee. I wondered when she had learned that affection was permission. Maybe she had always known. Maybe I had only seen what I wanted. "Did you ever care about me?" she asked. "Yes." The answer surprised her. "Then how could you do this? Caring about you is not the same as belonging to you." The mediator ended the direct conversation. Claire accepted a repayment plan that afternoon. The first payment arrived 2 weeks later, $75. I transferred it into a savings account labeled home. By spring I qualified for a studio apartment near campus. It was on the 4th floor of a renovated brick building with secure entry, towel windows, and a radiator I could hear clicking from the kitchen. The rent stretched my budget, but my new work hours covered it. Before signing I read every page of the lease twice. No shared login. No cosigner. No verbal arrangement. My name appeared once. Written by my own hand with the middle initial included. Lily helped me move again. This time there were no cameras in the hallway and no one asking what I planned to leave behind. She carried in the last box and looked at the thermostat. 71. Dangerously comfortable. I may become weak. Tragic. We ate takeout on the floor because I had not assembled the table. I kept the receipt and paid my share before she could make a joke about it later. After Lily left, snow began falling outside. Not a historic storm. Just ordinary March snow. Wet and heavy beneath the streetlights. For months I had imagined this moment as the ending. A warm room. A locked door. Claire gone. But safety was not a single door closing. It was a collection of choices I had to keep making. I checked the window latch once instead of 5 times. I placed my keys on a hook by the door instead of beneath my pillow. I made tea and did not calculate the cost of boiling the water. On my desk lay the first heating bill for the new apartment. My name appeared at the top. The amount was higher than I wanted. I opened my budgeting spreadsheet, entered the number, and scheduled payment from my account. Only my account. Only my bill. No notes saying Claire owes half. No promise that someone would pay Friday. No hidden service holding another person's life together. The radiator paused for 1 second. My body remembered silence, frost, and the kitchen floor. Then the pipes clicked again. Heat moved through the metal in a steady, ordinary rush. I stood beside it and let the warmth touch my hands. Claire had built her career by telling people that comfort was weakness. She had needed suffering to be noble because other people's suffering was the raw material of her success. I knew better now. Cold did not make anyone virtuous. Pain did not become meaningful because it was filmed. Endurance was not staying inside a room that was killing you. Sometimes endurance was leaving before anyone gave you permission. Sometimes courage was allowing another adult to face the bill with her own name on it. And sometimes survival was nothing more dramatic than a locked door, a paid account, and a warm apartment no one could use against you. Outside the snow continued to fall. Inside, the heat stayed on.